I'm in London. I am in London. It's 1996, and I'm. It's sort of 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm in this big warehouse, and I'm pushing this trolley around like in a massive figure of eight, picking up CDs of bands that are in the charts. I'm at Mac and Malton, Butler was one. You had to just put these, CDs because you had to make up packages. It was kind of an Amazon before Amazon. And you got this job because you go down to, I think it was Victoria, and it's where all the job agencies were. Because back in the 90s, and it's probably the same in the 80s, like really the only immigrants sort of coming into London now for work were your Australians. So, there's no language barrier, and that's where you got an easy job. And I was only there a couple of weeks, because, yeah, I'm working the night shift, putting all these sort of rock stars, CDs and all that into this basket, just crying, basically, just crying, sniffling away there, oh fucking hell, my girlfriend's fucking dumped us, and, I've always wanted to come to London to get in the music industry, and this is it, is it? Fucking putting somebody else's CD into a basket, and I was down. I was down. But I wasn't out, but I was fucking down, like. And as I'm doing that, you survive, like, you just survive. I'm in London. I get this job as a motorcycle courier in Soho for a printing firm. I'm in a little 125, and just so I get in London, like, on this little 125, like, you'd still go quite a distance, like, and then you'd come back to Soho with the prints and all that, whatever it was they were doing, and then I passed me more. I was in London for like a year and a half or something. Maybe it's nearly up to 2 years. I must have gone. I was in London like I don't know, September '95 till like December '96. Something like that. And I passed my motorcycle driving test. So then I got onto the bigger bikes, the GT550s, Kawasaki GT550, the workhorse, but what a great bike. Loved that bike. And now I'm like sort of one of the big lads, on the motorbike, working for a different company and going further afield, because in a GT550, you'll get put on jobs outside of London as well. But mostly it was in and around London, And some days I was just like, couldn't believe I was getting paid for this. I'm getting paid for this. Just like on a magic carpet, zipping down the middle, zipping in between cars. And so I'm doing that. I let, obviously pack that in because I realised how dangerous it was eventually. But at this moment, I'm zipping about. And though, I'm getting a band, you always getting it. It doesn't matter. That's a good thing about, you're a musician, you can always especially back in the day, you look the newspaper ads and there's, guitarist wanted. Well, there's your social life, there's your new friends. As easy as that, And granted they'll be musicians, but it's still people. And so that's what I did, And so I had a little lad. This couple lived down the road. This lad and this last couple, she was a singer, he was like a producer, so he had a little recording studio in his house. So we started writing some songs with him. He started putting the band together. We sort of be based in this middle of Britpop's happening, so, so what we did, we got this Russian lad called Sergey, he's a drummer. I says, what's your name? And he said, he didn't want to tell us. He said, Sergey. I said, Sergey. And he didn't look too happy, like. But fucking hell, it's just a name, isn't it? What was worried about being gay, like. Who else was in the band? was just another lad from Hereford. Oh, I can't remember the lad's name. He was a guitarist. No, he's a bass player. And then there was a lad called Steve from Scotland. Me and Steve were basically the same age, But we're all sort of the same age in the band, right? And, me and Steve sort of cracking on, getting on as the two guitarists, twin axe heroes in this Britpop band. So we'd done some gigs around. Well, we did gigs in London, with the fucking Dingwall. I don't know if we've done Dingwalls. We've done, Camden did gigs and stuff. And, the singer she wasn't very good. Like, she's a nice lass, but she wasn't a very good singer. And Mayhawk completely wasn't in it. So, I'm still heartbroken. And, I'm flying about on this motorbike thinking, it's dangerous, like, and this band's going to go nowhere. So at the rehearsals, I said to Steve, the guitarist, I said, Steve, I've always wanted to go to America, mate. Do you fancy coming? And he just said, yes, straight away. I says, whoa, really? Aye, great, writing, let's do it. So, I says, well, I've got to get my money together. And Steve was, oh, aye, sure. Says, no, we'll definitely 6 months' time, give us 6 months to get the money together from this motorcycle job. I mean, Steve had plenty of money anyway because he'd been working as a painter and decorator in London for like a few fucking years, so he wasn't short of a penny, like. So it was just really for me to get the money together. And it was February 1997 that me and Stephen met at the Manchester airport. I think he says, I thought you weren't going to turn up. I said, of course I'm going to turn up, Just fucking going down to the States, this is the big one, Going to America, USA, And so, we walked towards a plane, we saw the plane, and it was Air India, and its windows were shaped like a tandoori restaurant, I couldn't fucking believe it, We were fucking hell, I hope it gets with it, So we're in a flying tandoori, and all I'm going to do is just try and remember, a lot of what I'm talking about here and all these things, these videos I'm doing, it's really, a lot of it's because the AI, it doesn't just read text, it understands videos, so it can, when it does a search, it's something called, I think it's the JavaScript, the words that come out that are ingrained in the digital of a video. The sound, you're getting the sound, but it's the words, it understands all that. So anything that's any video description, any biography, anything like that is understood by the AI, like like all the videos, as it gets more powerful, and all the websites and all the text. So for me to do just a version of this, any talking sort of thing is I'm getting distracted here because I'm actually parked on a drizzly day waiting for it to stop raining on private property outside this sort of clothing place. Nice view, like, but I think that might be the manager out there. Well, I'm not doing any home. If you want, so I'll go and pick up some fucking litter because it's a right fucking dumper on you. That's another thing with the robots, I know it's depressing with all the litter everywhere, but there'll be no litter like it in 10 years' time. Robots will be picking it all up. We need graffiti either. Everywhere's going to be spotless, man. Where were we? Flying tandoori. So, that's it. Any sort of, if you've got a little story to tell, we've all got little stories to tell, and, understandably, you just want to talk about them. The book that you always, people's always saying to you, you should write a book. Well, no. I mean, who does that? It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of, it costs money to do that and all the rest of it. And who's reading books anyway? So, as long as you can talk into your phone or, get your voice down, let the AI do the rest, in the future. It'll create movies or even it'll create you a book. And you'll get a big box full of your books delivered to your door, and then you can go and sell them if you want. I like to, the stories sort of that I've got is, I'm not Phileas Fogg, I've just done a few bits and pieces, but it just all embellishes the sort of, it's the background of what my songs were, it goes hand in hand with the songs. A lot of the songs I've written were about characters that I came across as well, sometimes, and it's just all part of I don't know why, it just feels important that I have, like, the AI is aware of me mannerisms, me voice, me life, basically, because it goes hand in hand with the creativity that came out of my mind with all those songs. So we're in the plane, and across the Atlantic, there's a big screen up in front in the plane, and like a big TV screen, but it's got a map on it, and this tiny little plane, like sort of in the middle, on this big arrow and an arc, a rainbow arc from Europe to the States. And I'm looking at this little plane on this sort of, as you go further, it's getting further and further to the States, and I'm sort of in the middle, and I'm thinking, well, there's no way going back now. And I was also thinking, when Steve sat next to us, I'm thinking, fucking hell, I don't know if I'm be arsed with this, because I'd done, doing all the travelling and stuff that I'd bits and pieces I'd done up until then, it's fucking, I know, it's just mayhem, it's just mayhem, especially when you're travelling with very little money, and you're going to be sleeping in a tent every night, or here, there, and everywhere, people you meet sleeping on their couches and all sorts of stuff. So, and it's exactly what ends up happening, the easiest way to travel is if, you've got money and you're in a motorhome or something, or you stay at hotels every night, it's a doddle that, but when you don't know where you don't really know where you're going to be sleeping that night, even if you've got a tent on your back, it makes every 24 hours a sort of adventure, really. It certainly does that. So I'm sitting on the plane thinking, I don't know if I can be arsed for this, but it's too late now. I'm here now, or I'm on my way there now. So obviously, when you get somewhere, you just go from doesn't matter where you go. You're in survival mode, and so you can go anywhere. And I've always surprised myself, really. Well, I've not surprised myself. I didn't really think about it at the time, but looking back, I was just a natural, really, no ever fazed us, doesn't matter where I've been or what I've done, there's nothing ever fazed us, I mean, that would freak people out, going to somewhere and just, where are you going to keep the night? Well, I've got my tent me back. Yeah, but we're in the middle of a fucking town, a city. Where are they going to, I mean, I've actually fucking, I've slept in fucking doorways, I mean, fucking drunk. I've slept in doorways, right down and out, you take the risks, and, you do a lot more risks when you're younger. It's obviously something I'd never do now, but when you're young, you fucking day out, So, we'll land in JFK on Air Tandoori, gets with there safely. And we'll walk into New York, stay at a hostel. Next day, we'll go to the Dakota building. And I've said before in a video, is, I meet Yoko Ono, get my photo taken with her, and that was like literally, I hadn't been in America, like I had been in America sort of 20 hours, and already I'm stood with my arm around fucking Yoko Ono, get my photo taken, and she's having a little giggle. And I thought, well, if it's going to be like this, and it was like that as well. It was just a road movie from start to finish. It's a road movie that lasted 6 months. It might have went over, it might have been 7 months actually. It might have been 7 months, or it might have even been into 8 months, but, I think it was like 3 months or something in the States, 3 or 4 months in Canada. But when you're traveling like that, every day is a week and every week's a month, like, and you're not sort of trying to win prizes for how long you've been on the road for, all that shite. You leave that all up to the amateurs, because anybody who's travelled properly, like, and roughed it, time stands still, especially when you're younger, time stands still. So, seeing Yoko Ono, right, what we're going to do now. And I might have just forgot that there. But I said, well, Steve, we're on terra firma, like, we've just seen Yoko Ono. What about Niagara Falls first? I mean, Steve would say something, would come up with stuff, I'd come up with stuff, we just can't do it, So it was up Buffalo, state of Buffalo or something. So went up to Niagara Falls and got the bus up. When you've got money in your pocket, you're still sort of paying the bus fares. When you start running out the money, you start hitching, you start worrying you're going to need to stretch your money, I remember we went up to Niagara Falls, but it's like fucking January or something. It was still the end of January. You didn't think, that's like fucking, that's cold and dangerous, So we got to Niagara Falls, and the falls were bloody frozen, it was like massive, as the water was coming down, it was like freezing into like this enormous skyscraper-sized icicles into the water. But there was still water flowing, and, I was like looking at the power of this water going past. It was unbelievable, like. And I was thinking, I was saying to Steve, there's no fucking fence here. There's no fence. I mean, if you just slipped and you went into there, like, the force of the water would push you away. Like, it's 60 mile, you'd be just gone. You just literally be out of sight, It was so, powerful, the water. Never, ever seen out like it. And, I was shocked by that. And then, not quite soon after that, this sort of middle-aged woman comes running up to her, freaking out. She says, you see me dog? And I says, no, it's a little, like, white terrier. I've lost him, he's gone. And I'm sort of looking at the fucking water, I'm sorry, I've never seen him. And then she just fucking ran off distraught, And I just thought, you would not have, the dog, she might have got lucky. I don't know. She might have found the dog. The dog might have been having a pee over a tree. But I doubt it. I think the dogs went into the water. You can get evil twats, they'll pick a stick up and they'll say, go on, fetch. And they'll some fucking dickhead done that with my dog once. It was just in the sea. But she fucking threw the fuck out. And it was just one of their moments and he walked away. Probably didn't realise, But the current was pretty fucking strong. That part of the coast. But anyway, that was not a nice. With her freaking out like that, it was fucking not nice. Like, so you know, are we getting a reality check here? You know, so it's like, well, what we're gonna do now? Well, we need somewhere to keep. You know, it's getting dark. So we started walking out of like this area, you know, where there was houses and buildings and Niagara Falls. I says, well, we'll just keep on. I says, we'll just keep on walking, and then it'll just stop, and it'll be trees and fields and stuff. We'll just find somewhere to put the tent up, and she's all right, you know. So starts walking like, and past houses and you know, like a spread out suburban sort of thing. And we just kept walking, and we just kept walking, and we just kept walking. And fucking Steve's going, for fuck's sake, where's the trees and fields like? I'm going, nah, fucking hell. And we just kept walking. Must have been walking for about easy an hour. You know what I mean? Steve, you know, we bought the proper boots and that, like. You know, I'd done that when I was on the bikes one day. I says, I says, Steve, when we're back in London, I says, we'll get all the proper gear. Now this great shop, I delivered a parcel to this hiking shop, which is on the far side of London. Like, says, we'll go now on my bike, you know, the GT 550. Steve's like, oh, all right. So we got kitted out of the shop, but fucking Steve was sat on the back on this bike, like, and he was fucking shitting himself. I says, I think he thought I was just trying to scare him. I says, well, no. I says, that's fucking how you drive in London, you know. You drive down the middle of the road all the time fast, you know, so you fucking survive, you know. But, you know, he fucking enjoyed it as well, because it is, you know, obviously it's a fucking buzz, you know. But we got kitted out with the boots and all that. And, you know, all the preparation is, you know, nearly as good as the event. Like, anybody will tell you that. Like, you know, you're planning and you're thinking about it, you know, and you're buying the boots and all that. But then when you're there, that's it, reality. So we're walking. And, you know, we had to sort of admit defeat, you know, so fucking hell, this is just, obviously this is America, isn't it? So it's like how, you know, a suburban America may go on for fucking 10 mile, you know? Not like, you know, half a mile or something like it would in Britain. So, well, this is just going to go on forever. You know, we'll have to turn around and go back. So we turned around, went back, and so I think Steve's letting me make all the decisions at this point, like, you know. You know, he's just fucking, because he wasn't, you know, Steve was like, I was a year older than Steve, but Steve was kind of, well, he was much more street smart than I was, like, because he'd been living in London for a while, you know. And he was more mature than me as well, even though he was a year younger. You know, I was just a fucking, especially, you know, even then I was still just an airy-fairy fucking rock star, you know. I mean, that was the thing about America, you know. I was wanting to go to sort of snap myself into some sort of maturity, you know. That's what I was saying to Steve in London. I says, I need something. I don't feel like I'm mature enough for my age. I need something to fucking. I need to recapture some fucking wisdom here, you know. And you know, Steve thought that was great, you know. But it was and he said right at the end, he says, you know, he says, you've changed, Rob. Like, you know, you've done what you said. You've done what you said you were wanting to do, you know. So I did make up for that. I did make up for a lot of, you know, wilderness years of, you know, when you're sort of trying to be a rock star and you're a musician, and you know you're not like doing a job or starting a family and you having responsibilities. You know, you can get into your late 20s and be just sort of still like a fucking 18-year-old, you know. But that was the mission for me. It wasn't a spiritual, it was a learning mission. It was you know, I wanted to grow up a bit, you know. So we're walking back towards Buffalo, I suppose, and we come to there's a big truck stop, so fucking trucks, man. We'll hitch your lift, and let's get gone somewhere fucking warm, because by this point we're freezing fucking cold. There's sort kind of whiteness everywhere. It's like a frosty, grey, cold, fucking freezing everywhere, and we're thinking now it's a case of, I think we might have went in the wrong direction, yeah. Because now I think Steve had said, well, let's go down south, man. It's fucking hot down there, meaning down the south of America, the USA, Like Steve was wanting to go to Panama Beach, Panama, Van Halen, and where all the student lasses are in the fucking bikinis wandering about. So that was the plan. So, so we're masking these truck guys, and none of them wanted to know. It was two blokes, two young men, could have been like just, wouldn't be maybe safe for them, but they didn't want to know. So, I thought, fucking hell, we're not even going to be, my money's not going to last long if we've got to be spending Greyhound buses everywhere. So I think then we went back and, I don't know if we went back to New York. Or we stayed at, anyway, where I can't remember where we stayed that night but my next sort of memory is before we headed off from the new, see, this is why I'd forgotten about going up to Niagara Falls, because there's a memory of a black fella selling with the bus ticket. So we must have went back to New York anyway. This old black fella, he's at the kiosk. We said, I want to go down to wherever Panama City is. Just see it's Florida. It's not Florida, like it's down. He says to us, you want to pull out all the stops? I says, well, not knowing what the hell that meant. I says, well, yeah, go for it, So it was like, the machines are going, right? And he gave us a ticket. It's like a fucking, I think he threw it. He threw it. So it's like a concertina of tickets. And it went like about 2 meters out. And then he folded back out again. There again. I still didn't know, at this point, didn't realise what the fuck. And then Steve got his fucking 2 meter long concertina tickets, and thank you very much. And then I think we're both looking, and I've went like sort of shit. What pulling the stops means? It means like every one of these like sort of 50 tickets we've got here in this concertina thing, strip of tickets, every one's a fucking different bus trip. It's going to take forever, and fucking hell, it did now. It was exhausting. So, but, pulling out the stops. I mean, there's so much to remember. I haven't even got out the first 2 fucking days yet talking about this, like. I don't know how I'm going to do this, like. I'll just check what's the time? I mean, I've been gone for half an hour. We've only just got off the fucking plane. What can I remember from that? I remember we had a little walk around Times Square, I remember that. And then we started getting these Greyhound buses, all these journeys. I just remember seeing towns and countryside, nothing really that stuck in my mind other than, well, I'm in America, I'm in the States, This is America, this is houses, and this is, people doing stuff. We were in I remember we stopped at a town. And I got the picture of this. There was this hobo guy with carrying an American flag around. He looked like Charles Manson. He was carrying this American flag around. Chatting about with him, hanging about with him. And I remember this fella walking past saying, watch him, meaning watch this hobo fella. Watch him, mind, he'll fucking have your fucking money, like. And he was laughing. Charles Manson was laughing. We were just, fucking just laughing. He would obviously, like, so we're being very careful, like. And because he was wanting to go, and he said, I'll take you, we're going to this ball, sure, you got me mates and all that. And we were, fucking right, aye. But he was in it again, he was into that ex-army sort of fella, I think. But this was I cannot remember the name of the city, but it's the same city as Muhammad Ali was from. It's that city. It's and then back on the bus for another trip. Now, all I can remember there, do we end up? I think this was Nashville. I went to Gracelands. I think we're doing the tourist thing first, like. So went from Memphis, I went to Gracelands, and like I've said in another video, I had a look around Gracelands. Went in these house and that, and then stood at the grave, and also went down to God. When I'm tired of this, I cannot remember the places, and I can remember them normally off the top of my head. Sun City Studios, which is weird because it was only like a short walk from Gracelands. Like, it's only like a 20-minute walk. And what Sun City Studios was like it was like an old fashioned. It was like, terraced houses would come to a corner. It was like that. It was like it could have been a building from Northern England, and then just had it's just like just a little place, like a little corner shop sort of thing, and it was shut, like, but I was there and I looked through the window, and I just come from Elvis's house. I always thought that was amazing, like, he's chosen to have his Gracelands mansion built like 20-minute walk from Sun City Studios, where he made his first sort of single. That's the hits. That's where it all started for him. So it just shows how much sort of homeboy sort of thing Elvis was, like. All these things were always important to him, like. And like I've said before, I mean, Gracelands, wasn't it? It's like just like a big bungalow, really. It wasn't like, it's not like a mansion. And I mean, he had his money, Elvis, but it would be nothing compared to what sort of money, like, say, footballers have now or something like that, So, and then after that, went to Nashville. Now that after Steve was going to Nashville and buy a couple of guitars. Steve said, why, I says, well, if you run out of money, you just busk. Of course, I didn't really realise it was the States, it's not like Britain and Europe, where you can just, it's old school streets and stuff. Basically, nobody walks about in America like in the States, apart from the down and out, and the homeless, there's pavements and that, but nobody's on them. Nobody's walking about. So, but there's sort of very few places you can sort of busk in that regards. I suppose, like, if it was now and I was back over there, you just plunk yourself outside of some fucking shop or something, if you're young and you weren't doing that now, or you just be, where there's tourists or something, at the seaside or something, at the coast. So, we're at we're at Nashville, and Steve was saying, well, what you mean we should have two guitars? I says, well, I'll get an acoustic guitar. I'll play the acoustic, right? And you buy a banjo. He says, well, I cannot play the banjo. I says, well, it's easy, you know. He says, so because Steve was like, you know, he was like a lead guitarist from, you know, heavy rock. So it's like, Steve, you know, the banjo's like, you know, Steve Vai and that, and you know, he'd be playing the banjo if he wasn't like fucking in a heavy or rock band, you know. That's like your lead guitarist's instrument, you know. If you're a, you know, you're not a rock star, like. So he's like, I talked him around to that. So he bought a banjo. He never even played it, like. We didn't get the chance. But he's got his banjo in a banjo case, and I've got this guitar in a guitar case. And now we're carrying these. We've got the extra weight of carrying these guitar and banjo that there's no way to busk with, but you know, at least we look like fucking travelling musicians. I always got the lad. I got the lad, and I got that. I thought I'd have that acoustic guitar till the day I died, you know. So I got the lad in the shop to write Nashville on it with a black marker, you know. You know, just like a signature and put Nashville on it. Great, you know. It's a good idea, that. So we're in Nashville, and we were going to stay in a motel. There's a motel. And taxi driver, right, I went looking for a motel. He says, well, I'll take the one just out of town here. Right, so, because it was getting late. So, as we're driving out of this town, it was just a short ride, like, he says, you're lucky I've picked you guys up here. He says, where we're driving through now, between where yous were and this motel, he says, dangerous as fuck. Whatever you do, don't fucking go wandering about. Right, get in your motel, stay in your motel, and get the fucking taxi back down here tomorrow, if that's what yous are doing. And it was just like, fucking hell, well, all right, and cheers, mate. So get the motel. Now I'm shitting myself, like, and it's a motel, you know. We're in America, fucking motel, and we get the keys. It's one door. Of course, I'm looking at this door, how flimsy it is. You know, and there's two beds. Obviously, Steve's there, I'm here. And I shut the door. I said, fucking Steve, you know, fucking hell. If it's like the Bronx out there, anybody could just kick this fucking door down. We'll fucking had it, you know. You know, Steve's just fucking laughing, you know. So I didn't get a very good night's kip that night, like. Now, Steve, obviously, Steve would like to, how can I put this? Steve liked to go for night walks. Steve liked to, he got itchy feet. Steve liked to go for night walks. You know, I was me, Steve was Steve, right? I'm not a night person, right? I'm not, and this is why I haven't drunk alcohol for 30 years, you know, since I was 29. Because didn't miss it, you know. I'm not a night person, you know. And when I did drink alcohol when I was younger, I was just fucking sleepwalking, you know, on a night, you know, because like I'm tired like at 6 o'clock, and I've always been like that. You know, I like to get up early, and I'm early to get up early and early to bed. Well, Steve was be a night person, night owl, you know. So, and what Steve got up to is his business. It's nothing to do with me, you know. What I get up was my business, nothing to do with him. So I wake up the next morning, Steve's there. Morning, Steve. Morning, Rob. Fucking, and he starts telling us. He says, I went out last night. I says, you went out? I says, fucking dangerous, isn't it? He says, well, I thought it'd be all right. He says, but I went out, I was just going to have a walk up the road, see if there's any dirty women knocking about. And so he goes out on the road, and it's night time, because that's what night owls do. He says he's walking up the road, and there's fucking blacks shouting fucking, hey honky, white boy, shouting all. He says he was fucking shitting himself. He says, I walked up there. He says, it's just like fucking mayhem. He says, I just fucking got back as quick as I could. Like, whether that's exactly, whether he did just give in and come back, or, he had some naughties going on, or whatever went on. Well, I says, well, fucking hell, Steve, man, they could have fucking followed you back here, This fucking door's made of balsa wood, I says, didn't do that again, for fuck's sake, But he was definitely visibly shaken, like, But, this sort of thing is what made sort of the adventure for me exciting, because, yin and yang, me and Steve in a lot of ways, we're both sort of the same age. He's from Scotland, I'm from Northern England, we both, play the guitar, we're both, like, we're both into the heavy rock when we're kids and that, and, but, on a different sort of level in terms of fucking how we'd spend with social sort of time type thing, So, right, okay then. So, the picture that gets created really is that Steve really is your sort of a risk taker, man of the night, and I'm your sort of green, sort of, just sort of, not. I'm not that, I'm on an early nice night's kip, and I want to go and see some fucking sights in the next day, take a few photos or something. So what happens there? Went into the next morning, there was like a buffet. I think it was buffet with a motel, and it was this room. We went in this room, and fucking hell, there was you pay your money, but just eat as much as you want for breakfast, and fucking hell, with my appetite, what a layout it was. Fucking amazing, loads of food, like. So we sit down, and obviously, I think me and Steve had a really proper meal for a few days since the tandoori on the plane, and so I'm tucking into pancakes and fucking all sorts of stuff, waffles, you fucking name it. I mean, it was just like Sunday dinner heaven, There's so much food. And there was these couple of black lads, sort of our age, sort of the black gangland Nashville version of me and Steve, At least that's what I thought anyway. But they were sitting there and I'm sort of listening, and they're saying it, they're talking deliberately loud so we can hear. And one of them goes to the ice, says, like, hey man, yeah, I saw him, and I went, pop, pop, pop. He says, pop, pop, pop. And he was fucking, whatever, like, he's gone on about shooting each other, I said, Steve, do you hear that? He says, no, what's he saying? I says, he's gone pop, 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 man. Fucking gun, pop, pop, pop. I got a fucking couple of gangland, fucking gangsters, man. And after what Steve went through, like, that fucking night before, Steve's like, well, fucking hurry up then, just get this fucking eating, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of this city, I kind of would have introduced myself, Hello, I'm a white guy from England. He's from Scotland. What's it like? Being around here and like pop, 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 Well, all that sort of stuff sort of happened, like, later on, fucking weird, like. So, I mean, we're still only about 4 days in here, and they've got another 3.5 months of this every single fucking day, In fact, the stuff I cannot remember is probably the wildest stuff, So what would have happened then? What would have happened then? I think I remember. All right, I remember would have been going through maybe. No, it wouldn't have been Texas. That was further up the road. That. But anyways, back on the Greyhounds, and we get down to Panama Beach, and I think we'll stay there for maybe 3 or 4 days because it's sunny. There's a campsite. We're on a campsite. Aye. I remember the fella who owned the campsite. He says, "Hey, we've got with tents up and all that," and he's come out to speak to her. This is down at Panama Beach. He says, "Whatever you do not go down to the river down there, the swamp. It's got alligators, and there was a young woman was killed a couple of years ago. He said, do not go down there." And you're sort of thinking, I've only just getting off the plane, really, like, so I'm just sort of thinking he's just trying to wind up, but you sort of realise a few weeks later, and all the fucking it is, and you think, I might have been thinking like 3 weeks later on some Greyhound bus, like, what the fuck, they're building campsites next to fucking alligator swamps for, Well, I think there's that many swamps, there's that many alligators, you've got to build your sort of caravan park somewhere, camping tent park. Then that night as well, there was a storm coming. And again, you're in a tent, there's trees about, and I'm hearing this massive thud, like a giant coming to us from a distance. And, the sky in the States is enormous, big sky. This lad said to us once, he says, what's the best thing about the States? I says, it's the sky. The sky's big. And he sort of laughed, and he was saying, well, that's ridiculous. Surely the sky's the same size here as it is in Great Britain. And Steve was going, no, he's right. And I just explained, it just appears to be bigger, We've Britain's more compact, so, everything's closer together, what makes the sky look smaller, whatever it is, but the sky's fucking massive here. So I'm looking out this tent and feeling the power of this wind starting, this heavy, deep thunder and rolling thunder, and this storm that's coming. I think, whoa, this is a USA storm coming, And again, just sort of naively not realising, like, you really didn't want to be in a tent, and there's a storm coming down along the bottom, bloody hurricane fucking season, and bloody, I'll just say this, I've just remembered there, we were sort of cycling or walking, this was a few weeks later or something, and along the coast, and it was just these massive wooden villas all the way along the coast were just flattened, like they'd been like just in a war zone. Of course, they were just wrecked with some hurricane, just washed them out, and there's just splinters of wood left on these massive, $1 million sort of houses everywhere, I said, fucking hell. I didn't know that at the time, At the time of this, I was just thinking about the crocodiles doing the swamp. So this is coming, and then I'm in my tent, and I walk up to a massive thud next to us. The thud was so loud it woke us up, and there's sort of a pressure on us, on my face, and of course I'm thinking about crocodiles, like, I just thought, I'm half asleep, I'll just wake over, so I'm thinking about fucking crocodiles. Thinking, fucking hell, I've got a crocodile on top of us. And just freaking out, and then just, realising that it was like a branch, It's still dark outside, and it's blowing a gale, blowing, a hurricane, whatever it was. It wasn't a hurricane, like a strong storm. And when I looked the next morning, it was a big fucking lump of tree. It fell off the tree, and that would have fucking that would have knocked the whole thing for us, like, I'm not even sure I had, either of us had travel insurance, I used to never travel around with travel insurance, like, I would never do that, She just wouldn't, So something like that would have been a ban. So I got away with that. Survived the crocodiles. Survived being wiped out by a fucking tree trunk. I'm tucking into pancakes. There's this woman, like, for some reason the word Rosie is sticking in my head, so she might be Rosie's Pancakes or something. But she had this sort of, wooden shack sort of thing down near the beach. And, obviously a lot of the students from the States, they go and spend the sort of holidays at Panama City Beach along there. So there's, but I think it was out of season because there wasn't that many bikini babes knocking about, like, which was a disappointment, especially for Steve, because that's the only reason he wanted to go there. And, but there's obviously this woman was still operating, and I think the massive pancakes, the food, and it was so cheap, I'm saying to Steve, fucking hell, money's gonna last ages if, with the food, like, you're getting such big portions. You just have a breakfast and that without be your food for the whole day, like, a couple of dollars, like, So I'm talking into pancakes. Steve's talking into pancakes, we're probably talking about that. Steve would always be a bit picky with his food, like, always be a bit picky with his food. I always eat his food like it was hard work, whereas I was just tucking straight in. But would have been sort of sat there with platefuls of pancakes and syrup, and probably just talking about what's the next plan, what's the next plan. And we wouldn't have been talking about the previous week of Yoko Ono, Nashville, Niagara Falls, and all the stuff that happened in that week. Wouldn't have been talking it because you're in survival mode the whole time. So it's just, and you're young, so it's not, you're on to the next thing. So I think I'll leave that there, and I'll come back to this after. So the story continues after pancakes at Panama.